proof will be seen long in the future, right? And it's good
Hmm.
and bad.
Yeah. But if you're playing the long-term game, then it'll
Then it
just
doesn't
create a
matter.
short-term spike. Yeah, exactly.
Hmm.
Doesn't matter,
Hmm.
and these will just create a short-term spike. So, can you tell us a little about your team? Who's behind this particular chain? Who's helped you out?
Yeah, absolutely. We have an incredible team. Our CTO built the Gravity Bridge, which is the first ever bridge from Cosmos to Ethereum.
Wow.
Our head of DevOps comes from Terra, which obviously, if anyone has seen, had the largest transfer of money in the world. As we kind of hit records on kind of on usage and block space, getting someone to help, obviously keep us afloat as we try to go on a volumetric based KPI system. Um, our engineering manager from Flow, I mean, the team is absolutely incredible. It's very small. I mean, right now it is only about 9 people. Um, it is me, a BD person, a designer, and then everyone else is engineers. And obviously with an engineering based company, that's what you kind of come to expect. But
Yes.
it's extremely interesting. It's extremely interesting, and I love working with this team. They are some of the brightest people I know, the funniest people, and it is never a dull day, I promise you that.
Oh, brilliant. So you guys are all working out of New York, or is the team distributed?
No, team is actually completely distributed.
Okay, yeah, I think that is usually the case with all these great products that are being built. It's difficult to find all of that talent concentrated in one place.
It is, it is.
All right, wonderful. So now that we kind of know what you're building and your journey so far, I would love to know what is the next big milestone for you personally as well as professionally that you're looking forward to.
I'm looking forward to our mainnet launch. I think that's going to be the most exciting thing. Ideally coming up soon, but we have a lot of great projects coming out the gate.
Hmm.
Um, ready to kind of hit mainnet extremely hard with some great names like Uber, Samsung, North Face, some of them we've already kind of went over, but even more to kind of come. And it's one of those things where always it's always a starting block, right? And it's
Yeah.
whenever mainnet comes live, it's you have some teams who treat it like the end of the game, but really it's the beginning. And I think understanding that and saying, hey, this is where we're able to hit our strides. This is where we're able to, um, this is where we're able to actually really make a difference and a change and start really hyper growth and sprinting. It's exciting. It really is. And
Absolutely.
I've got the best team to do it with.
Yeah, I think that's wonderful. So, do you guys have like a timeline for your mainnet launch?
We always say soon.
Oh, right. Yeah, no, I get that. That's the industry
You've been in
standard.
crypto, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, I know. And
there's
no
always an
judgment there.
answer to this.
Yeah, yeah, there is no good answer there. So it's absolutely fine. And this is just for the folks who are perhaps waiting for, your token to hit the market. But
Of
it's
course,
okay.
you're gonna have like 40 wins in the comments.
Yeah, definitely. Main net win. So yeah, and
When
I'm
mainnet, when
totally yeah. That's gonna be there. But all right, so
always.
this is all wonderful. Yeah, absolutely. Now just sort of zooming out a little bit and talking a little about the kind of challenges, because I'm sure uh, there are challenges dime a
Absolutely none.
dozen in this space. Really, no challenges while you've been trying to
Not a
democratize
one
Web3.
challenge. It's a streamlined process. Just keep walking straight and you'll get there. No, of course there's
Yeah.
challenges. It's always hard to change. When you have kind of dramatic shifts in an industry, it's always
Hmm.
going to be interesting. And right now, we feel like we're at this crossing the chasm moment, and
Hmm.
there's no there's no clean there's no clean connection. It is a jump, and whenever you have a jump, you of course have the opportunity to fall. And
Right.
I think if we didn't have such a great team, I would be worried. But there's always going to be skeptics. There's always going to be, those kind of going against. But I would say like challenges really is, I will say the challenge is that there's no products in this industry. And I wish
Hmm.
there was. And you have this kind of chicken and egg problem, which effectively says, there's no users in this industry because there's no products, and there's no products because there's no users. And
Hmm.
one of these things needs to change. Obviously, as we kind of say, we are trying to be this catalyst event by providing the users so that products have a total addressable market that's larger than the total number of MetaMask downloads. And
Hmm.
I think once we can get to this point of actual A differentiation, but B, A differentiation, but B, like hyper scale, I think the wheels really start turning. And once we can kind of hit this cliff effectively, which is mainnet, right? Um, the easier, the faster it'll be, to kind of get things through. So, I mean, to answer your question, I really like, no, all jokes aside, there are not many challenges.
Hmm.
Because there's nothing, everything it's a green open field, and everything will be what you make of it, and you can always find a challenge in something, but you could also find solutions, and you could also find, yeah, I'll give you a very, very good example. We
Hmm.
back in July of last year, actually,
Hmm.
we were this was like actually probably more like February of last year, actually. We were not really considering we were not real the idea of having account abstraction on a protocol level
Hmm.
didn't hit us yet.
Right.
But we did want to like make it easier for people. And so what happened was we were using an MPC provider, which for those who don't know what an MPC is, it's effectively like a multi-party way to create a wallet. It's an easier way to create a
Hmm.
wallet so that you don't actually need to trust someone, so it's not completely centralized and still non-custodial, but still have a very seamless flow. It's like what you look at like with a Privy or something like that. The people who are trying to make wallets easier to create. That's what we were trying to do early
Hmm.
last year. And we had opened up our testnet and we were absolutely decimating these guys. They ran we were taking down their network every single time. And because you need three parties, right? And you want to do it in a decentralized fashion. And
Hmm.
I remember we're sitting there and they're running a hackathon in New York over a weekend, and we take their testnet down and we ruined their hackathon. And I felt so
My
bad, but
God.
I didn't really feel that. I didn't feel that bad because, I don't that's, that
That's
can
a
be
win
our
for
problems
you.
is, hey, we have too
Yeah.
many users. Yeah. Oh no, I'm sorry, we have too many users. But suffice to say, it really made us think, and we really hit this kind of first principles perspective. And then that rabbit hole ended up leading us down to our protocol level account abstraction. And then effectively saying, why are we using wallets at all? Like if we can make
Hmm.
everything a smart contract account, we actually, and that's what I say, right? You look at how I introduced ourselves. We were a walletless L1. And this was the impetus of that. Right. And so you
Hmm.
can look at something like this and say, this is a challenge, this is a problem. Or it was the greatest thing to ever happen to this company because it put us on a trajectory that we would have never imagined.
Yeah. I think that's a wonderful way of putting it. And it's just about perspective. And I think this is good advice for business as well as life. That, at times your lowest moments and, the kind of problems that do arise, they give you that opportunity perhaps for growth and to get where you were perhaps always meant to be.
Hmm. Exactly. Exactly. And, that's it's also how you survive in this
Yeah.
crazy markets.
Absolutely. I think, yeah, you need that kind of perspective and that gung-ho attitude to survive and to live to see another day. So, yeah, I
Exactly.
totally agree with you. So now, again, I would like to perhaps double down a little bit on the user adoption question. Like, I would love to know what is your approach to ensure, like, obviously your USP is to make crypto perhaps disappear, but how are you
Hmm.
reaching out to these, yeah, end users? We can educating them about yourself and your platform.
Well, we don't really need to educate the end user too much, right? Like
Hmm.
I think you'll always get the crypto power user, which will, be the kind of the educator, and the developers will be the educator. Um,
Right.
but I don't think it's necessary anymore because we don't have wallets, because we don't have like any of the barriers to entry. We don't actually need to educate users, right? And I think this is a flawed perspective of the industry, which is the way to reach users is to educate them and make education better. It's like, no.
Hmm.
The way to get users is to make it so that they don't need to be educated and they can just use something. Um,
Right.
and as it relates to that, I recommend you trying, anyone at home as well. You can use your mobile phone and try Earn OS or any other of the products. Um, and you won't know that you're interacting with crypto for 1 second. You don't need to be
Right.
educated. I don't need to, you don't need to do a Coinbase learn and earn program to understand how to onboard because direct everything's denominated in dollars. You're able to use credit card and debit card for most of it, and able to withdraw into money. So the idea really is to build an ecosystem of projects
Mm,
that don't require um that really just don't require education.
right. Again, this is a wonderful perspective, I think, because we kind of, as builders, I have talked a lot about it, that, there is usually a learning curve, and maybe, obviously, you need to make the experience better, but in the meantime, perhaps you need to educate the end user so that more people understand this. So this is a very different, but I think a perspective that I would totally concur with, that, you need to make it so easy that nobody needs to be educated. So let me perhaps reframe my question. You mentioned that you'll get the crypto power users and the developers, and they would kind of be able to become that mechanism via which users kind of flock to you.
Mhm.
So how are you reaching out to these guys and building your initial system of early adopters?
A lot of it, I mean, there's been about a year of this, and so it's been about a year of this, I would say. So, what was I gonna say? I would say originally, especially when we were in the bear market,
Hmm.
a lot of the developers kind of came from like resignment in a way of, wow, I've built a product or I want to build a product and there's three users in this industry and because no one's here.
Hmm.
And I need to increase my total addressable market. So that was really like the impetus of most of these projects. And then you have something like an Earn OS, which was actually quite organic. They just cold reached out to us. Because of just the content that we put out. And, I think it was our partnership with Circle for USDC. And they're saying, hey, we actually need this. And
Hmm.
I think there is a quite nice organic aspect to the growth of the industry, especially when you see the projects and you see the brands, and you see the potential. But of course, we have a community of over a million, that is extremely, extremely strong. I think we have like 700,000 followers on Twitter, 600,000 in the Discord. Really, really active community that's really exciting. And of course, just word of mouth is always going to be strong. And we're not even technically alive yet, and we're seeing so much growth, and so it's extremely, extremely exciting, and we're more than excited to then just hit mainnet.
Right, yeah. No, this is wonderful. Like I mentioned before, kudos on the kind of traction you have seen. Now, I would love to, because we've not covered that so far, and it just struck me that, we haven't really talked about chain abstraction. Without going perhaps too technical, if would you like to shed some light on that for our listeners?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we touched on it a little bit with like the
Hmm.
Solana and the AVAX, kind of partnership and things that we had there, or I guess integration we had there, I should say.
But if
But
you had to say explain how it kind of works to a user or just a builder, how would you
sure.
do that? Yeah.
So since everything's a smart contract, since everything's a smart contract on Zion, we can have a smart contract deploy via, whether it's any bridging. If anyone's not familiar with bridging, I won't go into the specific names. For those of you who are familiar, whether it's IBC or Hyperlane or
Hmm.
Union, utilizing some of these interoperability solutions to then
Hmm.
deploy a smart contract on a neighboring chain. And so we have a smart contract on, let's say, Zion and a smart contract on, say, Solana. Um,
Hmm.
and they act as mirrors to each other, right? So,
Right.
and they can communicate with each other, right? It's general message passaging. And so, but with that being said, it's now this way of being able to communicate. And since we don't need a wallet, we actually we don't need to be, wallet specific in signing because at most chains have a different signature schema, which is one of the main reasons why it's very difficult to go cross chain. And so you're effectively within the usage or however you want to say it, using a product on Solana without even knowing it because we act like this kind of mirror. And now take that and then say, okay, well, we have one on Solana, we have a smart contract on Solana, we have one on Avalanche, we have one on Base, and now you've created this kind of omni-chain environment where every chain is connected via these smart contracts, and all of them can communicate with each other extremely seamlessly because they're a smart contract, and you get this interesting network effects of products being able to say, transactions, users, TVL, and all of these things can flow very seamlessly without having to really. The only thing that you really have to probably change is the website handle.
Right, I think that's a wonderful way of putting it. It's very straightforward in the way you've explained it, that the mirror and because there is no wallet, the kind of that kind of complexity of getting the right schema that kind of goes away. And I think for perhaps people who are listening in, this will give them the right level of curiosity
Mhm.
to look into this further because again, very exciting technology, and I love how we've come such a long way
Yeah,
from no smart contracts to smart contracts to several chains, and now these chains, um, talking to each other and effectively growing the ecosystem together.
yeah, it's beautiful. I mean, it really is beautiful to see. Genuinely,
Yeah.
it's exciting as well.
It's very exciting. So now, as a leader in Web3, and now I'm completely zooming out because we are running out of time, even though I'm enjoying this
Mhm.
conversation a lot. But perhaps the last three questions or two questions, I would love to know your perspective as somebody who's been in this space for some time. What kind of personal principles or philosophies guide your own work, and what keeps you in Web3, despite all, the kind of small or niggling or bigger obstacles that you've seen in your journey?
It's a very good question actually, and I think what keeps me in Web3 is that I think there's always a group of people that are trying to do good, and
Hmm.
I think like when always try like I mean, I normally just say just don't be a dick. That's always my that's just for everyone that I meet. That is what it is. I
Yeah.
apologize for cursing, of course, but there's so many, there's so much going on. There's so much good being done, but you're in an industry that can always be grifted, right? Once you involve a financial aspect into something, it's hard. It's hard not to.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
people have numbers. There will always be nefarious players, but just understanding the long term and understanding where we're going and where we want to be, it's much more powerful than anything, really. And I think being able to kind of see through all of that is important, and it's hard to do that on your first cycle, but
Hmm.
um, it's not all lost.
Yeah, absolutely. No, there's always like I think when a conversation takes a turn in this direction, I usually go back to what I had heard Andreas Antonopoulos say in one of his videos, and perhaps it was in the book Internet of Money. He said that all new industries kind of see the bad elements arrive as well. Just when it's taking off,
Hmm.
but we should just remember that there is more good folks
Hmm.
than them. There are more solution builders than the problem creators, and you should take solace in the fact.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And I think, kind of time and time again, you begin to see this more and more,
Yeah,
which is awesome. Um, yeah,
it's nice. It's life affirming as well. I think it gives you hope that
yeah.
there's more good in the
It does
world.
give you hope.
Yeah, and there are good people, and people are trying to do good, and not everybody is perhaps coming from a place of malice, and that is very life affirming.
Yeah. No, exactly. Genuinely, exactly.
So now, just to this is something that I ask everyone who comes on the show, and I would love to ask you as well. If you had to, give advice to aspiring entrepreneurs or developers, or even just users who are perhaps sitting on the fence about getting in the Web3 space, just checking out the next DApp or something like that, what would be your advice to them for them to truly start living on blockchain?
For users, you won't have to do anything.
Hmm.
You'll you'll be interacting with blockchain and you won't even know it. And that's okay. It's great. Um, for people who want to start building, I would say ask yourself why.
Right.
And understand that you're here for the right reasons, not the wrong reasons, naturally.
Hmm.
Which is it's easier said than done, I will say.
Hmm.
It's very easy to get caught up in everything that goes on. It's very easy to get caught up in the money, the big numbers, some of the people and the lifestyles, but keep your head down. Yeah, and I don't know. Don't also, if I would really be honest here, maybe stay in your own job. Like you don't have to quit for crypto. It's a lot of people I know, and the odds aren't great. So, and it sucks. You genuinely got to be crazy. So, yeah,
Yeah,
that's
it's not for
probably the
everyone.
advice.
Yeah,
Yeah, you don't
it's
have
not
to.
for everyone. Yeah, you don't have to do anything. Not everything has to be built in Web3. Not everybody has to really make that leap and come on to and join the cult, as we've put.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
it's not for everyone. But if you are really going to be building in this space, then I think in this cycle and in the past two cycles, I think a lot of people have given very similar suggestions that you really need to ask yourself why are you doing this for the right reasons. Do you really like the technology, or are you here just for
Hmm.
the noise and the trills and banners that come kind of with it? And if
Yeah,
your answer is a resounding yes, that you really like the
really care.
ethos, yeah,
Yeah,
you really care, and you're curious and you want to build in the space because you like the technology, then stay.
then
And
great.
yeah, but there's always a caveat. Not everything has to be built with keeping
Hmm.
Web3 in mind.
Of course, yeah. I mean, it's just it's same with AI. Like it's always these are narratives sometimes, and a
Yeah,
lot of the a lot of the times it's just it's going to be a narrative. And you can see this a lot, but unfortunately, not everything needs to be on chain either. Like,
yeah. No, that's very true. That kind of makes me a little curious about your opinion about this. And this is something I've been recently started asking guests on the show. What is your take on all of these AI tokens? Do you have a take? Do you have an opinion there?
yeah, but my mama said if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. So, but
That kind of
I'll
says
leave it at
everything.
that. We'll leave it
Yeah.
at that.
That kind of says everything. But yeah, I think yeah, I get what you're saying, and I feel, at least I'll be honest about my opinion. I think that there is a lot of noise, and
Hmm.
I haven't really seen a very good use case so far of these AI
Yeah.
tokens. I'm sure that there might be, NFT. I used to have a very weird opinion of NFTs as well initially, like with just the CryptoKitties aspect, and I didn't understand digital collectibles at all. But
Hmm.
the technology itself, I think, has evolved so much, right? There are so many use cases now. There's been no particular product market fit, I think, even till date, but it's a dynamic growing industry, and the technology can be used to build really wonderful solutions. So I think even though I don't have a very flattering opinion of these AI tokens currently, but I'm sure that that we might see a day when there is a particular use case that actually makes sense and
Yep.
makes life easy for
Exactly.
people.
Hope so.
Yeah, let's hope so. All right, this has been really wonderful. Thank you so much, Anthony, for making the time to speak to me. Before we wrap this up, any last thoughts, anything that you would like to share to our listeners, and how to perhaps get involved with Zion?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, first of all, thank you so much for having me. Obviously, it's a genuine pleasure, and this is a great conversation, so I really appreciate it. I think it actually kind of relates to getting involved with Zion. If you're a user, you'll be using it someday, and you hopefully you won't even know it.
Hmm.
But for others, right? Like it is, please come to the Discord, come to the Twitter. We have so much exciting stuff going on. It's not even funny. And I think that sentiment may be low right now, also just kind of from a more macro level, but I think we're at one of the most exciting inflection points that we're going to see in a very long time, and reminds me kind of at like the come off of DeFi summer, which is really really exciting.
Right. Yeah. No, it's an exciting time to be in this space. And I think with solutions like yours, things are just going to get better and better.
Yep. Thank you.
So
I'd hope
I
so.
would, yeah, no, I'm absolutely positive. I'm very, very bullish on especially solutions like yours when, I think this is something that I've always said, that, you need to, your solution needs to work in a way that the user doesn't even know that it's utilizing blockchain technology because it doesn't matter to the user. And that is not something that's relevant. And you are doing exactly that. So I
Oh,
have
thank you.
only good wishes for you. And thank you so much once again for making the time to speak to me.
Thank you. Yeah, this was a lot of fun. I appreciate it.